Alrighty, if you made it this far into the video, thank you so much for watching. My original intent with this video was to do just another silent painting video like I typically do, but throughout the painting, I realized some really critical things about Gogh Starry Night. First of all, I was completely underprepared, so what I wanted to do was share a bunch of tips with you guys as far as how to recreate this piece way better than mine. And the second thing, how difficult in my opinion it was, just because I'm not really familiar how to paint in this style. So I just wanted to share with you guys some of the tips that I kind of learned on the way of creating this piece, so yours comes out a lot better than mine. Tip number one being, you don't have to copy stroke for stroke Gogh Starry Night. It is going to be virtually impossible. But my biggest takeaway whenever you're kind of getting down the concept of Starry Night is focusing on a variety of different things, which are the swirl in the sky, the position of the stars and the moon, and just the big general objects that kind of make up the painting itself, like the church that I'm painting now and that giant tree root thing sticking out of the ground. Clearly everybody knows what you're painting. Another thing is just lay down generic shapes. I'm not necessarily copying building for building, stroke per stroke there at the landscape. As you can kind of notice here when I'm laying down all the green, we all know that it's grass. I'm not sitting here painting in every single stem or leaf or root that you see there at the bottom. It's more about just getting down the shapes and getting down just the color where it belongs. Simply, you know, everybody understands that we're looking at some kind of grassy field or something like that just by putting down green at the bottom of the painting itself. So that's tip number one. Tip number two, don't ever stop referencing the original painting. See this big giant circle that I drew around this giant blob of not sure what? That doesn't look like a swirl at all. At some point, I just stopped looking at the original painting thinking that I was done, and I came up with this. The most important part of this painting is the swirl. And if you don't get the swirl right, it's just not gonna work. So please make sure that you look at the original and don't stop until you feel like it's pretty dang close. Tip number three, practice, practice, practice. Now, I did not practice. That's why my painting came out So I realized one critical thing. I'm really efficient at moving at a very certain direction, and for me it just happens to be at like a 45-degree angle moving vertically. Now my painting was mostly painted moving horizontally, and I didn't realize this till now, but I kind of suck at moving that way. Now, when I paint with no camera, I get to put my hand wherever I want. Now, when I have a camera above me, I have to keep my giant hand out of the way of the camera or the lens so it doesn't cover what I'm painting. So I never realized till now, it was never an issue till now when I started realizing that I have to paint mostly horizontally for the camera to make sure to pick up everything and I don't block anything. And so that's something that I wish I would have knew before, so I could at least set up a different camera angle just to kind of get that down, because I do have a confession. So I wasn't originally going to post this video because I realized that I made a really critical mistake, and that's that giant blob I talked about earlier. But if you reference the beginning of the video, you notice that the actual swirl in the sky looks so much different than the one that I circled, and that's because I realized how good I was at doing those strokes from a very particular direction. And so I actually ended up fixing it and really liking it, changing my mind about the painting itself. And so with that being said, please practice just a little bit. This probably took me, you know, I don't know, 10 minutes or so, just because I do think it's gonna make your painting come out so much better than mine. You don't have to copy the strokes that he's using, but at least figure out the type of stroke you want to be using just so you can have the effect. And now mine just came out, I think, pretty kick-ass in that regard, because I do think the swirl and the sky itself have a really massive separation, which in my opinion looks dope. Tip number 4, I wish I would have gridded my painting just do a line down the middle horizontally and down the middle vertically, just to make sure that you get the proportions right. I do think that my painting came out a little bit cluttered, and I wasn't a super big fan of that, but just to kind of make sure you have accuracy to some degree as far as proportions go, draw a grid, do yourself a favor. Another thing I wish I would have done is put some lines to make sure that you know which direction the strokes are going. And tip number 5, please don't give up on your paintings. This rock has been sitting on my desk for days before I realized that you can fix it. That's the beauty about painting. If you don't like it, just paint over it. I don't know why I was so discouraged. I don't know why I was so frustrated. Painting should be fun. Painting should be loose. And get all of your emotions out on the canvas. Or whatever you're painting on. In my case, it's a rock. Don't give up on your paintings. If you're catching yourself feeling frustrated or upset or not happy with your painting, walk away, take a breath, come back and make an attempt to fix it. And in my case, it unfortunately took 3-4 days to kind of put it all together, but we all struggle with it, and that's my final tip. If you enjoyed this video and you like my commentary and the tips, let me know in the comment section below. But until next time, guys, peace and love. Consider subscribing if you haven't already, and out.